Hi, this is Wiley Sharp with Catamaran Central, and today I want to do a video on all of the reported sales in the catamaran world Q3 for 2022 and compare it to 2021, which was arguably a period in time where we all thought the catamaran market was going the craziest it's ever could possibly go. But anyways, before we dive into kind of the numbers and what the market's looking like, a few things I want to talk about. The first is this data comes from soldboats.com, which is a reporting website attached to Yacht World, or Boat Wizard as we call it in the yacht sales world. So these sales are only brokerage sales. In most cases, it does not include new boat sales, and it also does not include private sales. Every time I do one of these videos, I get an email saying, hey, you missed this boat. Hey, you missed that boat. If it's not reported to soldboats.com, it doesn't go in this report. So that's why not every boat is in the report. And anyways, I always get that question, or I always get those comments. So I thought it was worth just kind of nipping that in the bud right out the gate. Now, I have conversations all the time with prospective buyers on the state of the market, with interest rates up, with the stock market down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Have we seen a huge correction in the catamaran world? Now, from where I'm sitting and just how busy I've been, as well as other industry colleagues, I don't think there's been really any slowdown in the catamaran space. What's kind of changed a little bit from the feel of it, and we'll get into the numbers, which will tell a different story, or a more accurate story, or a data-driven story, I should say. From where I'm sitting right now, it seems like boats are taking a little bit longer to sell, and a lot of that I think is driven by kind of the cyclical nature of yacht sales. In the past, the hurricane season, or the height of the hurricane season, was always the slowest time for yacht sales. We didn't see that last year. We didn't see that in 2020 because the whole world had just lost its mind and gone crazy because of COVID. We are seeing a little bit of that though in this kind of hurricane season. Now, we're not seeing a huge reduction in price, and we'll get into those numbers, but we are seeing that boats do feel like they're taking longer to sell. So anyways, without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into all reported catamaran sales for Q3 versus Q3 of 2022 versus Q3 of 2021. So the first graph I want to show you guys is the volume of sales. Now, I've got all reported sales, and then I also broke out Leopard, Lagoon, and Fountaine Peugeot. I think it's important to break those out because those boats represent the lion's share of brokerage activity. Those are the boats that most buyers are looking for. And there's some really weird outliers that kind of go into the data that skew numbers a little bit. So I thought it was important to kind of break those three manufacturers out. That was a suggestion a couple months back or a couple quarters ago from a gentleman named Bill. And I thought that was a great suggestion, Bill. Really quick too, before we dive into the numbers, if you go down to the description, I'm going to have a link to all of these graphs, as well as another link where you can get all of the raw data that I use to put my notes together and build these graphs and kind of analyze. So definitely check out those links in the description of the video below. So in 2021, there were 146 catamarans sold in the third quarter, 21 Leopards, 51 Lagoons, 26 Fountaine Peugeots. Now, how did that compare to 2022? 137 units sold across the board, 28 Leopards, 53 Lagoons, 18 Fountaine Peugeots. So not really any real significant change between total units sold between 2021 and 2022. The next graph I want to show you guys, if I can get this thing to work. Sorry. There we go. Next graph I want to show you guys is days on the market between 2021 and 2022. So this is kind of wild. I had to run the numbers multiple times because I thought I was having an error here. But in 2021 and 2022, boats stayed on the market on average 130 days. Now, for Leopard in 21, that was 85 days. For Lagoon, it was 119 days. And for Fountaine Peugeot, it was 130 days in 2021. In 2022, Leopard stayed on the market on average 116 days. Lagoons 108 days, and Fountaine Pajot's 126 days. Real quick too, I think it's worth mentioning. I always get this question as well too. How come there's always so many more Lagoons that sell than Leopard or Lagoon? And I should probably go back to the slide before. Like, why is that? You could almost add up you can almost add up Leopard sales and Fountaine Pajot sales and equal, total number of Lagoons sold. It's got nothing to do with people selling Lagoons because they think the bulkheads are going to fail or any of that nonsense. It's simply because Lagoon is manufactured about twice as many boats as any other builder and are bar none the largest catamaran builder in the world. So that's why you always see more Lagoons selling than Fountaine Pajot or Leopard, simply because they've got the scale that neither of those manufacturers have. And kind of on that note, the market we're seeing is definitely driven by supply. I would love for people to guess how many boats are built globally, how many catamarans, I should say, are built globally from, the big manufacturers like Lagoon, Leopard, Fountaine Pajot, all the way down to the small manufacturers like, Sunreef or Royal Cape. I would love to hear people's guesses on how many catamarans are manufactured globally. And I think most of you will be very surprised by that answer. Anyways, so we've already talked about days on the market. I've gone off on a couple of tangents here. The third slide I want to cover is average listing price. So for 2021, the average listing price was $449,000 for all catamarans, $399,000 for Leopard, $468,000 for Lagoon, and $495,000 for Fountaine Pajot. In 2022, those numbers went up to $495 for all boats, $495 for Leopard, $499 for Lagoon, and $551 for Fountaine Pajot. So definitely an upward trend in listing price. But listing price, that's just an asking price. It's what the seller's hoping to get, but it rarely gets. So let's see what the average selling prices were in the third quarter for 2021 versus 2022. So the average selling price in 2021 was $430,000 across the board, $352,000 for Leopard, $436,000 for Lagoon, and $445,000 for Fountaine Pajot. In 2022, those numbers jumped up to $482,000 across the board, $474,000 for Leopard, $487,000 for Lagoon, and $538,000 for Fountaine Pajot. Now, one thing worth mentioning why the numbers are higher for Lagoon and Fountaine Pajot, in my opinion, and that is because both Fountaine Pajot and Lagoon build larger, kind of more premium boats in that kind of 50 and up space, whereas Leopard is kind of really in that 40 to 50 foot range. Yes, I know they built the Leopard 58, but those are not high dollar boats compared to, the larger Fountaine Pajots or the larger Lagoon. So I think that's kind of what skews that number upward a little bit for Lagoon and Lagoon and Fountaine Pajot over Leopard. So probably the most relevant thing about the pricing is the percentage of asking price. So in 2021, we had an average percentage of asking price across the board of 96.72. Whereas in 2022, that went up to 97.5 roughly. For Leopards, it was all the way down at 92.92%, which jumped up to 96.5. For Lagoon, it was at 98.3, which actually fell a little bit to 97.7%. And then for Fountaine Pajot for 2021, you're at 96.5% and a boost up to 97.6% for quarter three of 2022. So those are kind of the numbers here. And as you can see, there's not been this correction that everybody's hoping for and waiting for. I think that it is basically just boils down to, yes, the economy is slowing down a little bit in a lot of spaces, but there's just such little supply and so much demand remains that catamaran prices, unlike other segments in the yachting market, are staying quite strong. So if you do own a boat, it is a great time to sell your boat still. If you're thinking about buying a boat, well, things didn't really change over the last year, so you haven't really missed out. I feel like we are seeing more inventory coming to market, which does mean more choices, which is a great thing. Doesn't necessarily mean better pricing, but there are more options out there. So anyways, as I said earlier in this video, I'm going to have all of the graphs in the description down below. I'm also going to have a link to where you can get all of the raw data as well too, on that page that I'm going to link down below. If you got any questions on any of these boats, if you'd like a custom market report built for a specific make and model, definitely shoot me an email, leave a comment down below. And as always, it's so nice to be here on YouTube again, sharing some of this information with you guys. If you've got any questions, leave a comment down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks, and have a good day.